Hello hunters, TU4 is here, and that means updated builds. These will be my updated status builds. We have a lot to cover here: exhaust, blast, poison, evade paralyze, and evade poison. So let's get right into it. So a couple of things to go over first. All the builds shown here are from a previous build video, so we'll not be going into the fine details of how each build works. If you are new to the build and need more information, you can find the original build videos on my channel. As in my previous build videos, these will not include health drain skills, but they definitely can be adapted to use them as you'd like. I'll be showing my builds with and without augments. However, augments really take these builds to the next level. I will have recommendations on augments and examples of what the final builds would look like. Lastly, if there are some missing comfort skills that you prefer, please adjust to your own preference. Slotting out some damage skills to add extra evade extender or power prolonger is a fine choice if that's what you prefer. Status builds have gotten a lot more powerful, largely due to the added stats with the augment slots. When maxing out the augment slot on the status weapon, 10 sharpness and 30 attack is added, which is absolutely massive. Build-up boost is still not available by decoration this update. As a result, getting additional points of build-up boost is only available through augments. If you are chasing down getting to build-up boost level 3, I recommend attempting to augment it into the Risen Camille's gloves and the Risen Teostra chest. These two pieces are used in every build in this video, so no matter what build you use, you will always have build-up boost 3. A number of these builds will use Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush activates after a perfect dodge, which is made easy with the wire step switch skill. Once activated, it lasts 30 seconds. The longer duration of this buff makes it pretty easy to maintain, and it provides a massive 30 raw damage at level 3. Intrepid Heart is now level 1 decoration, so every build will slot it in, as it is a very nice skill to have for just a level 1 slot. Okay, let's start with the exhaust build. After maxing out all the augment slots and all the attack augments, the base attack on the Reconquerus is 390 attack, which is pretty ridiculous. New armor that we use from this update is the Risen Valstrax's legs. These legs are really good and allow us to add a lot more skills to the build. Looking at the augmented build, you can see that the build-up boost 3 is obtained in the pieces I mentioned earlier. Note that the build-up boost is the only skill you must augment for. Everything else can just be a skill you need, or a skill you already have a decoration for, so you can replace the decoration to add more skills. The rest of the pieces shown here are just an example of the augments that I have, but you don't need to copy those yourself. A noteworthy piece is the Anjanath Coil X. Since it is so cheap to augment this piece, I kept rolling this piece until I got a skill I liked, as well as upgrading a slot on it to effectively get 2 additional skills on this waist. It is worth noting that with the 5th anomaly slot, this unlocks 10 additional sharpness. Without this, the build will require handicraft to reach purple sharpness. Quickly going over the damage in the training room, you can see that this build does a lot of damage, along with all of the great benefits of running exhaust. Next, the Scorned Magnamalo Blast build. This build does a ton of damage. I really like this build since a previous title update, and it has only gotten stronger this update. I augment the Rampage slot to level 3 so I can use Foul Switch Boost. I put the rest into attack. After unlocking all of the augment slots, the attack of the Switch Axe goes up to 380. The augment slots also add 10 additional sharpness to give the Switch Axe 30 hits of purple sharpness. Because of this and the 90% affinity on weak spots, I use Master's Touch, which I have found to be really nice except for when I'm fighting something where it is difficult to hit the monster's weak spots. However, if you do prefer Protective Polish, this still works perfectly fine. Looking at the augmented build, I am able to reach Adrenaline Rush 3 for an additional 30 raw. I mostly play with Wire Step, and with Adrenaline Rush lasting 30 seconds, maintaining the buff is pretty reasonable and well worth it. One extra thing is that if you do have an attack boost 3 with a level 4 slot, you can run this variant to get 1 extra skill that I chose to put in Coalescence. With Coalescence, Adrenaline Rush, and a build-up boost proc, the Morph Axe Slash hit for over 1,000 damage on the Toadversary. And this is the first build on Switch Axe that I have seen a number that big. Next is a regular poison build. This build does not use status trigger, and is more of an ordinary playstyle. I tend to use this in multiplayer, as it is a bit more difficult to reliably evade and use status trigger in high multiplayer. After maxing out the attack augment and filling in all the anomaly slots, the attack on the Thanatos Serpent reaches 390 attack. I still prefer the Thanatos Serpent over the Chameleos, mostly because of maintaining poison for 4A uptime. The Thanatos Serpent has a significant amount of white sharpness on it, so using Master's Touch makes a ton of sense here. For augments, you might notice that the Risen Chameleos waist, I got a double slot upgrade so I can put in a level 2 slot. You don't have to do this, if you just get a good skill on it, it's the same thing. Looking at the damage with 4A active, the raw damage is pretty significant. You may notice that it is less than the blast build, however the poison damage that this build does is significantly more than the blast build's blast damage. Alright, moving on to the Paralyze build. I really like this build, but this type of status build heavily relies on status trigger. You will not be able to effectively paralyze the monster frequently unless you evade and attack with status trigger frequently. Also, remember that with Amp State, you effectively apply 70% more status because of the file bursts. I augment the Rampage slot and attack. However, if you are taking good advantage of status trigger, I actually think augmenting in status attack can be worth it. I have reached a status paralysis cap on some targets, and even still I'm able to reach it again to paralyze the monster with status trigger. After augments, it is possible to get in 1 point of Adrenaline Rush to do even more damage when we proc status trigger. Taking a look at the damage for Paralyzed, you can see that it is pretty significant. Usually Paralyzed builds suffer a lot on damage, but the damage on this Paralyzed build is pretty darn good. Lastly, the Evade Poison build, and probably my favorite build. The amount of poison damage applied with this build is pretty significant. I'm able to maintain poison on my target for the vast majority of the hunt, and benefit from 4A and the full uptime of build-up boost when status trigger is active. After augments, the Adrenaline Rush level 4 decoration adds even more damage after successfully evading. After evading, not only does this build do a significant amount of raw damage, but one Morph Loop applies 510 poison status. If you do 2 full loops, you will apply over 1000 poison status. As usual, thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, you can help me out by giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I will be starting work on the element builds and working hard to have that up as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, hunters. Take care.